Hello and welcome to Strive Dialogues. Today we are going to discuss about Ukraine and Gaza war, contrasts, connects, and a possible outcome. It's very difficult to actually predict outcomes of war. War का ना क्या war शुरू करना बहुत आसान होता है. इसको खत्म करना एक बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम होती है. वो हर जगह देखा गया आपने, चाहे वियतनाम ले लीजिए, अफगानिस्तान ले लीजिए, चाहे आप कोरियन वॉर ले लीजिए, किसी भी वॉर में वर्ल्ड वॉर को ही देख लीजिए, 4 साल चला, दोनों वर्ल्ड वॉर 4 साल चले. सो ये जो हमारा वॉर को खत्म करने का जो चैलेंज होता है, it is considered as one of the biggest challenge. So we will discuss all this with Major General Pradeep Singh Behl. Welcome to the show, Pradeep.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. Although you don't need any introduction, but I thought since you're coming second time after a long gap, so I thought let me introduce you to the audience. General Pradeep is a veteran of the Indian Army with over 36 years of service to the nation, a second generation Assam regiment, basically an infantry officer. He was born in Shillong, so he is a very diversified personality. He's a Sikh, but he's now settled somewhere else. But he was earlier in Shillong. I mean, he was born in Shillong, so a very wide canvas of experience. He's been in the UN also. He has commanded a division in the Northeast. Again, his home place of birth. So he went somewhere around there. I won't name the exact place, but suffice it to say, he was around that area. Then he commanded a brigade in battalion in JNK and part in Hyderabad. So I met him first time when we were in Hyderabad. He had just come from the UN, bubbling with energy, young officer. He has done all courses which any officer of such a caliber has, NDC, Higher Command, and what have you, NDA alumni. So we are lucky to have him, and he has been keeping a very close watch on Ukraine and Gaza. So basically, he has been studying it more. Ukraine, Gaza started much later. Ukraine has been almost 2 years. So Ukraine, he has been almost like a tea. Every minute he has been monitoring Ukraine, and so we are lucky to have him today on our channel. So over to you, Pradeep. But before you do that, I would only like to briefly tell about Ukraine. Is that the Ukraine war, because of the cold setting in, has gone into some kind of a stalemate, some kind of a eyeball to eyeball contact with non-contact actions being pronounced more, undertaking more than the ground physical assault with each other. As far as Hamas conflict is concerned, the truce talks have failed, hostage negotiations have failed. From 2nd December onward, they have again started attacking. The Israelis have started attacking. Hamas has given a very nasty statement saying that we will not negotiate anymore till the war ends, which means that Netanyahu's statement that I will finish Hamas. So will the war end when the Hamas is finished? A very, uh, as he's an expert of VUCA, I will say it's a very vulnerable, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous situation. Over to you, Prabdeep. First question: contrast the two wars.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, the Ukraine war today is at the 648th day.
Yeah.
So it's 21 months down. And
Correct.
for the last couple of months, I would say about पिछले कम से कम 6 महीने से हम देख रहे हैं जब से ये काउंटर ऑफेंसिव जून 4 को शुरू हुआ है. तो काउंटर ऑफेंसिव के बाद नॉट मच प्रोग्रेस has been made either by the Ukrainians or also by the Russians.
Correct.
What has been significant, however, is कि जो Kherson का region है, in Kherson region they have advanced, they have got a foothold on the Russian side of the Dnieper River, that is on the eastern portion, and and they have made about incursion of about 3 to 4 kilometers. As far as Russia is concerned, they are progressing their operations up in the north, that is towards Kharkiv. That's the general line. However, वहां में भी इन्होंने खास प्रोग्रेस की नहीं है. मिलजुल के अगर देखा जाए तो it is somewhat बराबर. And if you recollect, there was a statement by uh, Zaluzny, who's the commander in chief of the Ukrainian armed forces. उसने कहा था about a month back. He made a
Mm-hmm.
statement to the Economist that the war has reached a stalemate. Or this was, of
Okay.
course, appreciated by the President Zelensky. But वो सब उनकी internal politics अभी चल रही हैं. As far as what is going to happen here, uh, we also read it as a stalemate.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, while all this was going on, we have had the Hamas attack, which took place on the
Okay.
7th of October. Now, this
Mm-hmm.
attack has changed the entire dynamics.
Okay.
The entire dynamics have been changed. This is also on the 57th of the 56th day, 57th day today. This war is
Okay.
whatever is happening in Middle East. What has
Okay.
happened is post declaration of this, the offensive, so to say, which has been launched by the Israelis on the Hamas. A lot of discomfort, a lot of problems, a lot of displacement and destruction has taken place in the Gaza Strip. Now,
Okay.
as we know that the northern part, the Israelis had ordered all the Palestinians to go down south, and
Correct.
so the exodus from the north to the south took place, and there was this question of opening up the border towards Egypt. Now, that
Mm-hmm.
border was a question which the Egyptians were not very happy with the idea of the border being opened at Rafah, and the uh, a movement of IDPs, of the refugees from the Gaza Strip into the Egyptian soil.
Correct.
Now, it was only after the intervention of the international bodies and a lot of political pressure being put on Egypt, it was agreed that on humanitarian grounds this border should be opened, and humanitarian aid should be permitted to go into Gaza, because जितना भी वो aid आती है वो south से आती है from Egypt side, and it
Yeah.
enters. So
Correct.
uske baad we know that we've had a ceasefire for a couple of days, and that today, as of today, that ceasefire has been has been broken. Fresh firing has started. Israelis have bombed two cities, major cities, and the same old destruction is continuing. अभी
Okay.
अभी बात बात ये आती है कि दोनों तरफ डिस्ट्रक्शन हो रही है. As far as Ukraine is concerned, there is a lot of, I would say, uh, displacement which has taken place, a lot of destruction which has taken place. So is the
Yeah.
case in, so is the case in Gaza, and so is the case what is happening in the Middle East. Now,
Absolutely.
so what are we looking at? Destruction. We are looking at missile attacks. These are both common. We are looking at a lot of artillery firing. We are looking at a lot of air, one-sided air. Now, why
Okay.
I'm saying is one-sided, because on the Ukrainian side you have the air force, the Russian air force being more active naturally, because the Ukrainian air force is kind of very weak at the moment. There's hardly any aircraft which they can get up into the air. Similarly, on in the Middle East side, it is the Israeli air force which is bombing. Now, the difference again, there is tunneling in Middle East, in Gaza Strip,
Mm-hmm.
and there is trench warfare in uh, as far as Ukraine is concerned. So you have a very formidable defensive line which is there, which the Russians have had constructed last winters, and
Mm-hmm.
that is the one which has stalled the counteroffensive of the Ukrainians. Now,
Okay.
when you look at in the Middle East, in Gaza, this entire huge network of tunnels which is existing is the entire, I would say, defensive line or defense of the Hamas.
Okay.
So, if when you compare these two, there are a certain amount of similarities which are definitely coming about as far as the resilience of Hamas, as far and also the resilience in this case of the Russians, because the Russians have constructed the defensive line, and they are kind
Mm-hmm.
of not. You want to make a little headway, please go ahead and make a little bit headway. आपको थोड़ा अंदर आना है, आ जाइए, हमें कोई problem नहीं है. And
Okay.
and they are not putting the Russians in Ukraine today have not put in their best troops or the best
Okay.
equipment.
Mm-hmm.
बिकॉज वो नहीं चाहते कि हमारा बेस्ट इक्विपमेंट जितना है, फ्रंट लाइन इक्विपमेंट है, आई वुड से द फर्स्ट लाइन इक्विपमेंट, इफ आई मे जस्ट पुट इट,
Mm-hmm.
उसको हम अगेंस्ट यूक्रेन लगाएं, बिकॉज उनकी डिफेंसिव लाइन काफी मजबूत है.
Okay.
तो रशिया ने कभी, प्रेसिडेंट हैज आल्सो मेड स्टेटमेंट्स, कभी कभी बीच बीच में स्टेटमेंट्स दे देते हैं कि अगर हम चाहें तो हम बहुत
Mm-hmm.
कुछ कर सकते हैं. इफ वी
कर
वांट
सकते हैं.
we can do much more.
Yeah.
What is the reluctance? In my opinion, he does not want to go all out. He is waiting कि अगर ये चेस की गेम खेल रहे हैं. Russians
Mm-hmm.
are very good at this game of chess, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They have been traditionally champions of chess in any case.
they have been traditional champions of chess. So they are playing that game.
Mm-hmm.
What they have done in Ukraine is they have achieved partial aims.
Mm-hmm.
They have got 18% of their territory under their control plus Crimea.
Okay.
And not so 18% उनके ऑलरेडी काबू में है. पहले हम कहते थे 20%, whatever it is, 1/5, nearly 1/5 is in their hands.
Okay.
इन्होंने अपनी गेम ऐसी खेली है कि with less force or with less trained forces, or
Mm-hmm.
with with their paramilitary forces, colloquially, if when they used this Wagner
Mm-hmm.
troops, etc. So they tried to use all this. They use their prisoners against the Ukrainians. कि जितना
Chechen.
डिस्पेंसिबल, जिसको हम डिस्पेंसिबल सोच सकते हैं, उस डिस्पोजेबल फोर्स है, उसको इस्तेमाल कर लिया. अभी उनको थोड़ी सी तकलीफ आनी शुरू हो गई है, क्योंकि वो डिस्पोजेबल फोर्स इनकी थोड़ी कम होती जा रही है और शायद खत्म भी हो रही है. बिकॉज जो डिस्पोजेबल फोर्स होती है वो इतनी लॉयल तो रहती नहीं.
वो तो है, that is obvious.
So that is a cause of worry as far as Russia is concerned. आज उन्होंने they have kind of ordered a mobilization of increasing the forces by 1,70,000 troops. So 170,000 troops have been going to be added. So there is a little cause of concern in Russia also, within the society also. So ये सब चल रहा है. जो मैं चेस की बात कर रहा था, अमेरिका को उन्होंने मेरे हिसाब से चेकमेट कर दिया है. चेकमेट
तो
कैसे किया?
आप हिंट कर रहे हैं कि दोनों लड़ाइयों में पुतिन का कुछ कनेक्शन है, उसकी बात कर रहे हैं आप?
हाँ जी, ये हम उसमें थोड़ा सा बाद में डिटेल में बात करेंगे सर, मगर अभी मैं जस्ट इतना बताना चाहता हूँ कि ये थोड़ी गेम खेली जा रही है.
हाँ जी, बोलिए.
गेम ये खेली जा रही है कि इतना इन्होंने वेपनरी, असला दिया, इतना पैसा दिया, और रशिया ने बोला ठीक है तुमने सैंक्शंस लगाए, दो सैंक्शंस हैव नॉट वर्कड.
They have not worked, absolutely.
They have not worked. On the contrary, it has made the Russian economy stronger.
Yes.
It has weakened the European economy. It has weakened the American economy. So उल्टा हुआ है. As far as arms and ammunition, weaponry is concerned, जितनी भी इन्होंने सप्लाई की है उसका कोई खास असर दिखाई नहीं दिया. और जो जितने जोश में नेटो पहले चल रहा था, आज की तारीख में कोई नेटो वाला कोई बात ही नहीं करता.
ओके.
So the entire game and the attention of the world has been shifted to another arena. From the Eastern European arena, now it has gone into the Middle East. And in the Middle East also, what has happened is there were lot of alignments. Israel was getting accepted by all over the world. Every
Mm.
country was accepting Palestine, the two nation state theory. They were hopeful that the Palestinians would be around, and then the Israelis had themselves voluntarily withdrawn out of that. I mean, they had come out of Gaza Strip on their own. उनको किसी ने
Mm.
बताया नहीं, वो खुद निकल आए. उन्होंने कहा भाई आप लोग एडमिनिस्टर करो. So whatever happened.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at once the realignment was taking place, Russia was aligned with Israel also. Russia was aligned with Iran also. Russia was aligned with the Palestinian Hamas also. So all that a rosy picture. I mean, everybody was getting cozy with each other, if I may just put it.
Yeah.
So that coziness, we know of Israel and Saudi Arabia also kind of becoming kind of friends, because
Mm-hmm.
in the whole
नहीं,
in the
negotiation तो चल ही रहे थे.
negotiation chal hi rahe the, and China had
Israel.
come, and China was wanting to broker all the peace in the Middle East and wanting to act as a broker.
Hmm.
So when China comes into broker as a broker, China खाली अपना economic interest देखता है.
बिल्कुल.
उसने मिलिट्री इंटरेस्ट तो आज तक देखा नहीं, क्योंकि मिलिट्री इंटरेस्ट अगर करता भी है तो वो उसका एट द बैक ऑफ द माइंड वो इकोनॉमिक इंटरेस्ट होता है, इसलिए वो अपनी मिलिट्री दिखाता है, इफ आई मे जस्ट पुट इट, और ही डिप्लॉयज इन सर्टेन एरियाज.
Correct.
I mean, when I'm saying deploy, I'm talking about all the bases that he's made in Africa, Djibouti, and all that stuff. So that is
Yeah.
also for the safety and safeguarding of its economic interests.
Correct.
So when China comes in, it looks at economic interests.
Hmm.
Now, when all this is happening, and there was so much of pressure of the entire world on one country, that is Russia. While we may say कि रशिया की बैकिंग चाइना कर रहा था और करता
नहीं
है,
वो, हाँ,
वो
बट
वो मटेरियल नहीं है. I mean,
मिलिट्री
हाँ, वो they are like friends with benefits.
बस.
हाँ,
फ्रेंड्स.
I am there.
करेक्ट.
जरूरत पड़ेगी तो शायद मैं आ जाऊंगा. I'm adding that word shayad because China today is not, gone directly helping Russia in any way. They may have collaborated on certain decisions, but they have not had any physical kind of लेन-देन as far as weaponry is concerned. Though of course वो सुनते रहते हैं कि भाई China parts are there, but Chinese parts are there in Russian equipment, they are there in the American equipment also. So वो सब so China is a factor which has to be viewed very differently. And if you think that China is going to come to the aid of Russia, I'm so sorry, वो होने वाली कहानी नहीं है, because China is wanting to be big brother and a better brother than America, better big brother. So what did the Middle East, this Gaza war do? It shifted the entire weight from the Ukrainian side onto the Middle East, from the Eastern Europe to Middle East. जब वो वेट शिफ्ट हो गया है, अब प्लेयर्स तो वही हैं, गेम खेलने वाले तो वही प्लेयर्स हैं,
बड़े वाले तो वही हैं.
हाँ, पैसा भी वही है और असला भी वही है. So there has been a lot of diversion of all the military aid which was supposed to go in for us into Ukraine has now gone towards Israel. And logically, Israel is much more of a favorite of the United States than Ukraine. Ukraine was a proxy war, a pure case of a proxy war. Israel is not a proxy war. Israel is a true friend because Israelis, the Jews, they control the economy of the United States to a large extent. So they assert a lot of influence in US politics. अब ये किसने शिफ्ट कराया is something that we need to. It gives a very simple pointer towards one direction.
ये
ये किसके हद में गया? किसके
तो इसी इसी पर डिबेट होता है कि शायद ईरान ने किया, शायद चाइना ने ईरान के थ्रू करवाया। ईरान अब उसको मना कर रहा है कि हाँ, वी हैड नथिंग टू डू विद इट।
ईरान
फिर
इज
कई 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 थ्योरीज ये बोल रही हैं कि भाई पुतिन ने कराया, क्योंकि पुतिन वाज द मोस्ट आई वुड से कंसर्न्ड पर्सन एज फार एज द करंट इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस आर कंसर्न्ड। ही वाज फेसिंग द ब्रंट। उसको सीधे झेलना पड़ रहा था जो क्या बोलते हैं, वेस्ट की जो मार थी वो सीधे उसके ऊपर आ रही थी। उसका एमिनिशन खत्म हो रहा था, स्पेयर पार्ट्स खत्म हो रहे थे। कई देशों से वो ईस्टर्न ब्लॉक, पुराने ईस्टर्न ब्लॉक कंट्रीज जो वेपन्स लेती थी, उनसे वेपन्स ले रहे हैं। तो इन सब चीज़ों की वजह से काफ़ी लोग ये भी बोलते हैं कि पुतिन जी जो थे वो शायद इस पूरे लड़ाई में अपना वो कर रहे थे। तो इसके ऊपर थोड़ा हम आगे चर्चा कर सकते हैं क्या?
सर, ये आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा है, बिकॉज आई जस्ट वांट टू पॉइंट आउट कि जैसे ये हॉस्टेजेस लिए गए,
हम्म।
जब ये अटैक हुआ और हॉस्टेजेस लिए गए, उसमें रशियंस भी थे।
ओके। हाँ।
एंड देन द रशियंस मेड अ स्पेसिफिक रिक्वेस्ट टू द हमास कि
हम्म।
हमारे रशियंस को छोड़ो। 3 उन्होंने स्पेसिफिकली मांगे थे।
हम्म।
एंड out of that, on a special request, they were released.
ओके।
So that there was a celebrity who was actually in that, who was a part of that band which was playing, and
हम्म।
that act जो उस दिन
यम कपूर, यम
हाँ
कपूर फेस्टिवल
हाँ
के लिए।
फेस्टिवल के लिए. So that
हम्म।
person was, that is when the Russians made a direct appeal and got that guy out. Now this is something
हेलो,
which is interesting. The
आई थिंक देयर इज।
Russians, हाँ, रशिया ने खाली अपना कंसर्न एक्सप्रेस किया अभी तक हमास अटैक के ऊपर. ये आप देखिए, उन्होंने कंडेम
करेक्ट।
नहीं किया, उन्होंने कंसर्न एक्सप्रेस किया. सो देयर वाज नो कंडेमनेशन ऑफ दैट अटैक. ऑन द कॉन्ट्ररी, दे स्टार्टेड
या।
ब्लेमिंग द यूएस that you have not
करेक्ट।
been able to settle this conflict. The US has got some interest, and that is why they are not settling this interest.
या।
Now, then if you recollect, एक हमास की डेलीगेशन रशिया गई.
हम्म।
उसके लिए उन्होंने एक रेड कारपेट काइंड ऑफ वेलकम किया. रशिया, द हमास डेलीगेशन which went to Russia. Now
ओके।
this is after the attack, after October 7th. So this
ओके।
is also, these are also pointers that रशिया और हमास की जो बॉन हमी है वो काफी स्ट्रॉन्ग है.
हम्म।
Now we may say it's not a very big deal, but it appears to be a big deal because they are the ones who asked them to come. They came and they gave them a red carpet treatment, and then they released these prisoners. Now,
करेक्ट।
in the UN also, Hamas has benefited.
या।
When that condemnation, that resolution, US-led resolution had to be passed,
हम्म।
Russia did not approve of it. So that resolution could not be passed. That was vetoed. Now, when all this is happening, the bonhomie between Russia and the Hamas is very, very evident. कि इनकी डायरेक्ट डीलिंग है, वो तो डायरेक्ट लिंकेज तो निकल आता है.
बिल्कुल।
अब वो डायरेक्ट लिंकेज ईरान के साथ निकलता है, ईरान के थ्रू निकलता है, वो भी बड़ा क्लियर है कि ईरान के थ्रू नहीं निकलता, क्योंकि हमास की डेलीगेशन गई रशिया.
हम्म।
अगर अगर ईरान के थ्रू होता तो ईरानियन भी कोई कनेक्शन लगाते हो, कुछ ना कुछ होता. इट कुड हैव बीन, समथिंग व्हिच इज थ्रू द ईरानियंस, a negotiated deal took place, but that has not happened. And Russia
ओके।
and Iran has also denied. If you look at it, Iran has said, okay, we have been supporting Hamas. No, they have made a very, very categoric statement that, look, we have supported Hamas.
हम्म।
We know that there was something being planned by Hamas, uh, some action against Israelis. We are aware of that. But when they
करेक्ट।
did it, they did not ask us.
हाँ हाँ। ओके। सो
When they did it, so we have
तो
got nothing to
प्लान
do with it. We did not
तो
give the go
प्लान
ahead.
हमारे को कुछ संकेत था, इशारा था, लेकिन कब करेंगे,
हमें
कैसे करेंगे, वो हमें नहीं पता चला।
हमें नहीं
तो
पता.
वो
So we are not a direct party to it. So we got nothing to it. Don't blame us for this.
हम्म।
वी न्यू
कुछ
के
लोग
ये
इसमें
कुछ।
कुछ लोग इसमें ये भी बोल रहे हैं कि शायद ईरान इस तरह की बातचीत कर रहा है अमेरिकन प्रेशर में, क्योंकि उनका जो 6 बिलियन का जो रिलीज किया था वो अब दोबारा
करेक्ट।
फ्रीज हो गया है कतर में। तो शायद उसको दोबारा री रिलीज कराने के लिए अब ईरान ये नई बोल बोल रहा है। इट इज ट्राइंग टू, एक तरह से समझ लीजिए, थोड़ा दूरी बना रहा है इस पूरे कॉन्फ्लिक्ट से। तो इसके ऊपर आपका क्या विचार है?
सर आप जो कह रहे हैं बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं। ईरान टुडे, एज वी सी ऑल पॉइंटर्स, अगर आप देखें वेस्ट मीडिया को, वो
हम्म।
ना तो वो हमास को ज्यादा ब्लेम करते हैं, वो सीधा जाते हैं ईरान के ऊपर।
ओके।
जितने भी वो पॉइंटर्स, इवन इन ड्यूरिंग बिफोर दिस अटैक, दे वर बिल्डिंग अप, बिकॉज अमेरिका इज ऑलवेज लुकिंग एट द नेक्स्ट कॉन्फ्लिक्ट,
बिल्कुल।
initiate one conflict and try and create another conflict so that the industry keeps the military industrial complex, that business model that should continue to work. So
कुछ लोग कहते हैं कि अमेरिका हमेशा डिक्लाइन में रहा है जब भी कोई लड़ाई नहीं हो रही हो या फिर कोई मेडिकल इमरजेंसी नहीं हो रही हो, क्योंकि उनकी फार्मा इंडस्ट्री और डिफेंस इंडस्ट्री जो है ये तभी
बस,
सरवाइव करती है जब या तो कोई बहुत बड़ी आपदा देश में दुनिया में फैली हुई हो या फिर लड़ाई चल रही हो। तो मेरे ख्याल से वो लड़ाई कराने में माहिर हो रखा है इस समय।
हाँ, सो दे आर एक्सपर्ट्स। तो एक एक लड़ाई लगी रहती है, दूसरी वो इग्नाइट करने के चक्कर में रहते हैं। तो
छोड़
अगर
देते
आप, हाँ, तो when we look at whatever was happening in Iran, and they were always nuclear, Iran is going nuclear, condemning Iran,
हैं।
whatever
करेक्ट।
violence taking place. So
या।
they were building a case for Iran, if I may just put it.
ओके।
So अब Iran is also playing smart. It has also come out openly and said, look, I've got nothing to do with it. Now,
हम्म।
if no country wants to go to a war with and get destroyed. I
करेक्ट।
mean, the Iranians have seen a lot of destruction in Iraq. They have
या।
seen hell of a lot of destruction taking place in Afghanistan, Tabahi. They're seeing what's happened in Syria, all that,
करेक्ट।
Libya, Syria. वो सारा वो देख रहे हैं. So they are
या।
also playing the cards very well after that, all these incidents. So Iran
हम्म।
wants to play safe. They had all invited the even the UN inspectors,
हम्म।
and the UN inspectors have only inspected some sites which were obviously declared by them. But the Americans are saying, no, no, they did not declare the entire lot of sites. So
ओके।
all sites could not be inspected. So ऐसे करके ईरान को ऊपर केस बिल्डअप हो रहा है, and Iran is obviously trying to kind of stay away. But at the same time, Iran is building up it's buying time.
हम्म।
Now,
ओके।
Iran, a war against Iran is not going to be something similar to what happened in Iraq or what happened in Afghanistan when there was no viable opposition.
करेक्ट।
Now, Iran, a fight against Iran is going to be, if it happens, it's going to be a very, very different kind of a fight. Now, Iran has the backing of Russia, Iran has the backing of China, and
हम्म।
all these drones that they have come about with, they have mastered drone warfare. They're looking at ICBMs, and
हम्म।
they're also supplying all this. So when you look at their missile technology, which we know is very well established, when we're looking at them having kind of gone nuclear,
हम्म।
openly declared, but it is a kind of accepted कि हाँ, they are nuclear. So ऐसे
करेक्ट।
करके वो ईरान अपनी तैयारी कर रहा है. तो
हम्म।
ईरान जो है, अगर ईरान के साथ लड़ाई होगी तो वो अलग डायमेंशन में होगी. सेकंड,
या।
both these wars, both the Gaza conflict and the whatever is happening in Gaza and the Ukraine conflict have proven
ओके।
a major point. Major point is sanctions काम नहीं करेंगी.
हम्म।
सैंक्शंस काम करने वाली नहीं है. नंबर
बिल्कुल।
टू, आप जितना मर्जी जोर लगा लो, अभी हम तैयार हैं. और जो
ओके।
तैयार है उसको फाइट करने के लिए और जो आंख दिखा सकता है, तो ये हिलने वाले नहीं है. नो,
बिल्कुल।
now after the experience in Afghanistan, will the United States want to go into a direct conflict with Iran and try and put boots on ground? or it will be just raining of missiles, and it will be a purely non-contact warfare.
Or it could
That
be
way,
a non-contact warfare through Israel. One never knows.
that was always envisaged. It was always supposed to be through Israel only. I
Yes,
mean, it was always envisaged that United States directly, though it will only go into the sea and blockade the
correct,
sea, while
correct,
the physical attacks or whether the non-contact warfare, if it took place, it would take place from the Israeli soil. तो
correct.
अभी आज की सिचुएशन ये है कि ये होने वाला नहीं है, हो ही नहीं सकता, क्योंकि इजराइल इज एम्ब्रॉयड. Israel, which was the kingpin or the pivot, if I may
Hmm.
just use the word pivot, it is the pivot in the Middle East for the United States. That pivot is so badly embroiled
Yes,
कि वो ना तो ईरान की तरफ दे सकता है, और अमेरिका इज एम्ब्रॉयल्ड सो बैडली कि वो अभी यूक्रेन की तरफ भी नहीं देख सकता.
हाँ, तो ये मैं आपको ये सिर्फ अपने ऑडियंस के लिए, ताकि आप इस पे समझा सकें कि ये गेम कितना कितना डेंजरस सा हो गया है अभी, जो ये लोग आप बात कर रहे हैं, इसी से समझ में आ जाएगा। देखिए ये जो गेम है, ये अगर आप पूरा दिखाएं हम, अब देखिए जो आप बातचीत कर रहे हैं, ये मेडिटेरेनियन है, ये इजराइल है। पहले जो ब्लैक सी थी, ये इस तरफ है, ये जहाँ पे पहले धमाका होते रहते थे, मस्कोवा को इन्होंने गिरा दिया, मतलब डुबो दिया था यहाँ पे। अब इनका ये पूरा जो अटेंशन इस तरफ था, वो घूम करके आके वो उसकी दो 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 कैरियर ग्रुप्स तो इधर आ गए, मेडिटेरेनियन में आ गए। तो अमेरिका का पूरा जो उसने ना एक ऐसी चाल चल दी है कि पूरा जो अटेंशन है इधर आ गया नीचे। तो बैकिंग तो यूक्रेन की बिल्कुल खत्म हो गई है। तो इस ये मैप बड़ा अच्छी तरह समझाता है, गूगल अर्थ का जो ये मैप मैंने निकाला, ये इंटरैक्टिव मैप है, इसको आप ब्लो आउट भी कर सकते हैं। तो आपकी बात बिल्कुल सही लग रही है उस हिसाब से कि भाई ये तो मास्टर प्लान, मास्टर गेम खेला है पुतिन ने।
बिल्कुल सर, देयर इज
या
नो डाउट. देखिए सर, जब हम कोई भी चीज, suppose when you're on the, you're playing chess, you're looking
करेक्ट।
at that, you're looking at that mora, which will change
हम्म,
the, which will
करेक्ट,
change the entire scheme of things.
करेक्ट।
Now, rightly so, if Putin had to take away the pressure on him and
हम्म,
also to put pressure on the United States, he rightly identified this particular problem.
यस,
And anybody with a brilliant mind would actually play this card.
एब्सोल्युटली।
And in my opinion, this has been a masterstroke of President Putin, and a game so well played that
हम्म,
today the world has totally shifted the focus.
बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल। ऐसा लगता
अभी
है कि यूक्रेन में लड़ाई नहीं हो रही है। ऐसा लगता है कि
बिल्कुल,
यूक्रेन में लड़ाई हो ही नहीं रही है।
अभी अभी यूक्रेन के प्रेसिडेंट जो हैं वो बेचारे अपील कर रहे हैं कि मुझे, अगर आप पैसा नहीं दे सकते, अभी इक्विपमेंट नहीं दे, मुझे लोन पे दे दो.
करेक्ट।
Now the state is that, just to kind of uh, keep Zelensky in favor, Lloyd Austin made a very surprise visit into Ukraine, and
हुँ,
वो थोड़ा सा 100 million दे के आ गया कि भाई यू आर
करेक्ट।
स्टिल रेलेवेंट, जस्ट टू से कि भाई हम अभी भी हैं,
साथ नहीं
एंड
छोड़ा है।
हमने साथ नहीं छोड़ा है, हम हैं आपके पास, 100 million लीजिए.
हुँ,
और द ब्यूटी इज, वो जो 100 million है, I mean, it is talking about air defense, boosting up air defense capability. Now, sir,
डिफेंसिव।
आप मेरे को ये बताइए कि कितना बूस्ट अप करेंगे एयर डिफेंस कैपेबिलिटी? आई
शुरू से
मीन,
वही कर।
आउट वही कर रहे हैं. दे आर वांटिंग दैट फॉर विंटर्स, in the
हुँ,
winters, if their air defense is very solid, then at least
हुँ,
they will be able to ward off all the missiles and drones which are coming. But we
डैमेज
also know, अगर अगर 30 मिसाइल फायर हुई हैं तो लेट्स टेक 5 6 7 8 तो निकल जाएंगी. तो
गिरेंगी,
डिस्ट्रक्शन
गिरेंगी।
गिरेंगी, डिस्ट्रक्शन विल टेक प्लेस. एंड
या
एक और चीज प्रूव हो गई है इस लड़ाई में कि रशिया का जो वेयरविदॉल है, रशिया की जो प्रोडक्शन कैपेबिलिटी है
हम्म।
वो वेस्ट से मच मच स्ट्रॉन्गर है. इट इज मच स्ट्रॉन्गर देन एंड मच मोर केपेबल. द रशियंस आर मच मोर केपेबल एज फार एज प्रोडक्शन इज कंसर्न्ड.
ओके.
155 मिलीमीटर के जो राउंड्स हैं, इन्होंने, यूरोप ने और नेटो ने, दे हैड प्रॉमिस्ड देम 1 बिलियन.
ओके.
1 million, yeah, 1 million rounds they were supposed to, they had promised them.
क्वाइट अ लॉट.
हाँ, उसमें से they have been able to only give 200,000 till now.
जस्ट अबाउट क्या बोलते हैं, 1/5.
1/5. And the balance, what America was to provide, the America has absolutely shifted focus and it has provided those, that very ammunition to Israel.
इजरायली.
After all, Israelis. So ये शिफ्ट तो हुआ ही हुआ है. और यूक्रेन वॉर थोड़ी थोड़ी नहीं, मेरे हिसाब से काफी इनसिग्निफिकेंट हो गई है. ना तो कोई ईयू की स्टेटमेंट आती है. अभी ईयू बोलता है, दे आर नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट नेटो मेंबरशिप फॉर यूक्रेन.
बोलते हैं लड़ाई के बाद, कल स्टेटमेंट आई है,
हाँ, लड़ाई लड़ाई
स्टोल्टनबर्ग की स्टेटमेंट आई है कि लड़ाई के बाद हम आपको
देखेंगे देखेंगे. दैट इज वन. सेकंड, ईयू की मेंबरशिप की बात करते हैं कि we were considering giving you membership into the EU. बट EU में बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग चीज है. अगर आपने एक किसी कंट्री को EU के फोल्ड में लेके आना है तो ऑल अदर कंट्रीज हैव टू एग्री. इट हैज टू बी,
नेटो और उनका भी दोनों का कंडीशन है,
दोनों की कंडीशन है. तो हंगरी हंगरी करने वाला नहीं है. विक्टर ओरबान इज वेरी 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 क्लियर कि ये मैं होने नहीं दूंगा, बिकॉज ही डजंट फेवर दिस. नाउ इंटरेस्टिंगली, whatever elections are getting, are being held in Europe. Now we have seen the fallout of the Netherlands elections. Correct. Where that Mr. Greet,
ultra right wing,
there are the right wing people who have come into power. They are all coming into power. पोलैंड के बॉर्डर में प्रॉब्लम है. पोलैंड के ट्रक ड्राइवर्स अलाउ नहीं कर रहे हैं यूक्रेन का ग्रेन जाना. सो ऐसे करके अगर आप देखें तो यूरोपियन यूनियन टुडे इज टायर्ड, और आई वुड से द एंटायर ऑफ यूरोप इज टायर्ड ऑफ दिस यूक्रेन वॉर एंड दे वांट टू पुट एन एंड टू इट. रिफ्यूजीज का बर्डन इतना हो चुका है. तो ये यूक्रेन वॉर तो सर ये एक वो हो गई है कि ठीक है, चल रही है और ये चलती रहेगी.
तो जनरल प्रदीप, एक समराइज कर लें अगर हम अभी, क्योंकि हमने 40 मिनट डिस्कशन कर लिया है, 2-3 लाइनों में आप यूक्रेन लड़ाई को आगे कहाँ देखते हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ एक शॉर्ट टर्म और लॉन्ग टर्म में भी, और हमास वॉर को आप कहाँ देखते हैं इन द शॉर्ट टर्म एंड द लॉन्ग टर्म? दोनों का एक हम एक समरी जान ले तो अच्छा रहेगा, एंड देन वी विल गो टू द ऑडियंस क्वेश्चन.
राइट सर. So as far as Ukraine is concerned, presently a big statement was made by President Putin कि जब तक यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स में इलेक्शंस नहीं होंगी तब तक मेरे से बात मत करो सीज फायर वगैरह की.
अच्छा, चलो.
तो वो तो स्ट्रेट अवे उसने कह दिया कि भाई आई एम अवेटिंग द नेट रिजल्ट, एंड ही डज नॉट वांट टू पुट अ स्टॉप टू द वॉर. He will want others to be forced to put a stop to the war.
Okay.
So that is the condition. And उसमें क्या होगा, उसमें very clear conditions हैं कि जितना एरिया मैंने ले लिया मेरे पास है और मुझे ज्यादा नहीं चाहिए. ये these are Russian speaking areas. They are with me. Crimea is with me, and Black Sea में मेरा foothold रहेगा. So correct. That is going to be something which is going to happen.
ओके. हमास
ये लड़ाई. और इधर में मिडिल ईस्ट में सर, मिडिल ईस्ट में मेरे हिसाब से इजरायलीज आर नॉट गोइंग टू स्टॉप. देयर एंटायर एम इज, अभी इन्होंने ये जो टनल वॉरफेयर चल रहा है,
आई बिलीव 800 टनल कुछ वो कर दिए उन्होंने, आइडेंटिफाई कर दिए.
देयर आर अबाउट 800 ओपनिंग्स ऑफ दीज टनल्स एंड एंट्री पॉइंट्स. हाँ जी. तो उसमें से 500 के 600 इन्होंने सील कर दिए. So their aim would be to completely seal off these tunnels and get hold of all the Hamas leaders and knock them off.
Correct. That is the short term में.
That is the short term. In the
And
long
long
term,
कैसे देखते हैं इसको?
में sir, in the end what will happen is the Israelis will, after they are convinced कि Hamas को हमने काबू कर लिया है,
Be
they
fine
will
by
agree, they will agree to the terms of the international community, and they say we've got nothing against the Palestinians
people.
themselves
Correct.
with people, and we would want to coexist
Hmm.
as neighbors, as peaceful neighbors.
As we
But
have been doing.
as we have been doing, but we will not accept any terrorism or any such activity. So that is what I visualize. क्योंकि इसके बियॉन्ड कोई सोल्यूशन है नहीं,
Okay.
इसके
Okay.
बियॉन्ड कोई सोल्यूशन ही नहीं है. अगर
Okay.
अगर
So
अगर पूरा, सॉरी, हाँ,
नहीं नहीं आप
अगर
बोलिए.
वो एक नेशन तो हो नहीं सकता सर.
हम्म.
I mean, Israel cannot totally consume the Palestinian territories and they say we will govern, because उनका governance issue आ जाएगी, because those problems will continue. So ये
Okay.
टू स्टेट थ्योरी जो चल रही है और जो प्रोपेगेट हुई है शुरू में, after these various accords which have taken place,
हम्म.
that will in my opinion uh, take place, but only after Hamas has been fully taken care of.
Okay, I think you have summed up the entire issue quite well. We are going to see more of the same in Ukraine. Unless Ukraine withdraws, unless West withdraws, पुतिन भाई साहब रुकने नहीं वाले हैं.
बिल्कुल.
इलेक्शन को उन्होंने अपना शॉर्ट टर्म गोल माना है. उसका यही मतलब हुआ कि भाई शायद उधर रिजिम चेंज होगी तो कुछ नया इक्वेशन बन जाएगा रिपब्लिकन के साथ. और
बिल्कुल.
जहाँ तक हमास का सवाल है, हमास को एक वन वे टिकट है अमेरिका के लिए भी और इजराइल के लिए भी कि किसी भी हालत में वो हमास को हमास की कंडीशंस नहीं मानेंगे. तो हमास का अंत बिल्कुल निश्चित है. नए फॉर्म में हमास आएगा, किस फॉर्म में आएगा, किस रूप में आएगा, वो एक नई बात है, वो एक अलग बात होगी. कुछ इंटरिम गवर्नमेंट टाइप वहाँ बनाई जाएगी, मे बी हो सकता है कोई नेशनल गवर्नमेंट बने और हमास और वेस्ट बैंक को कंट्रोल करने के लिए किया जाए लड़ाई के बाद. आई थिंक दैट इज व्हाट यू अल्टीमेटली
Yes.
लुक एट एज फार एज इस इलाके की बात करें. मैं ऑडियंस से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा, काइंडली लाइक सब्सक्राइब टू दिस चैनल. हम लोग कोशिश करते हैं कि आपको जितना भी हम आपको वीडियो लाएं वो एक रेलेवेंट इशू पर हो और ऑब्जेक्टिव डिस्कशन हो, बिना बिना तामझाम के जो बाकी जगह होता है. मिर्ची मसाला हम नहीं लगाएंगे, हम फैक्ट्स के ऊपर बात करेंगे, जमीन पे बताएंगे ये हो रहा है, इसका ये इन्फरेंस है, इसीलिए हम ये असेसमेंट कर रहे हैं, जो कि जनरल प्रदीप ने बड़ी क्लियरली आप लोगों को बताया है. अब हम चलते हैं क्वेश्चन आंसर्स की तरफ से. पहला पहला जो क्वेश्चन मेरे सामने नजर आ रहा है वो है, ये है, ओके. कुमार जी आस्क हाउ रशिया विल in line with China or should have been aligned with
Aligned.
China on international affairs?
It's a good question. Russia or China, they are, as I said, friends with benefits.
Yes.
And when I'm making that statement, we have to be very clear. China is looking at becoming number one in the world,
Hmm.
and it has a stated goal by 2050. They are going to be uh, the number one most powerful country in the world. Now, for that, they do not want to get into any conflict. Taiwan is another issue, which is a separate issue, which I'm not trying to bring into this dimension.
Hmm.
When I'm talking trade with Europe, अभी 6 या 7 दिसंबर को सर, there is going to be a meeting. There's a EU China meeting which is taking place, and they are going to be focusing purely on trade, because
Okay.
China is very worried the trade is going down with the European Union or the European countries. Now the
Okay.
trade route all passes through Russia, whether it is land, or whether it is the northern Arctic route.
Correct.
The northern sea route is now slowly and slowly opening up because of global warming.
Okay.
और वो जो रास्ता है, वो सारा जो सी लेन्स हैं, वो रशिया इज द मेजर बेनिफैक्टर ऑफ दैट.
बिल्कुल सही.
और आर्टिक रिमेन्स अनटैप्ड. When
हम्म.
Arctic remains untapped, China and China wants to remain good friends with Russia so that tomorrow they also become a major beneficiary of this alignment.
हम्म.
So this is the, I would say, the major aim of this particular Russia-China friendship, and it stems from the Arctic. In fact,
Yes.
my
पूरा
theory my theory towards Ukraine is also linked with Arctic, but I'm not going to discuss that today.
मतलब पूरा आप एक तरह से काफी, इट्स नॉट अ शॉर्ट टर्म थिंग,
No, no, no,
काफी
no, sir.
काफी लंबे अरसे के बाद, मे बी 100 years के बाद पॉसिबली
हाँ
कहीं
जी.
कहीं इंडियन ओशन और साउथ चाइना सी, ईस्ट चाइना सी उलट के नॉर्थ में चली जाए और सारा
बिल्कुल.
ट्रेड उल्टा हो जाए और रशिया बिकम्स मैरीटाइम पावर और चाइना बिकम्स अ मैरीटाइम पावर. ये भी एक बहुत बड़ी संभावना है. अगर ऐसा हो गया तो आई थिंक द एंटायर वो जो है डिस्कोर्स ही बदल जाएगा.
Yes, sir.
अगले
So this is
अगले
this is how the alignment, Russia and China alignment will continue, and they'll start getting stronger.
ओके. तो अभी हम अगले क्वेश्चन पे आते हैं. सम्राट अशोक नहीं सॉरी Samrat Ashok Patliputra of Bihar, I believed that Ukraine possessed a substantial military industrial complex inherited from the Soviet Union.
You're absolutely right, Ashok ji.
Is my voice echoing?
No, sir, it's okay.
Okay, okay.
No, this आपने ये जो statement दी है, सम्राट जी, is absolutely correct. Ukraine, till this war took place, remained as a major supplier of arms and wherewithal. I will just want to highlight यूक्रेन और पाकिस्तान का जो संबंध है, जो पाकिस्तान में इनके जो टैंक्स थे, उन्होंने
अच्छा.
they gave them UD90s, UD80s, UD80s. There were about 320 tanks that had been provided by Ukraine to Pakistan. So that is the kind of industrial complex which existed or exists, the wherewithal exists in Ukraine. So it is quite a viable one. In fact, India also has been a kind of dealing with the Ukraine for many spares and of major equipment. So what you have said is correct.
Okay, next question is from Move. Ask General Sir, will Russia face a backlash from Dagestan and Chechnya as they are not supporting Palestine military wise?
Yes, this is a good question because uh, being being the religion connection, when you look at it, and this is brewing up, and this is a kind of a cause of concern within Russia. And Russia is making I would say, taking steps to ensure that these people do not, there is no uprising which takes place in Dagestan and Chechnya. uh,
Okay.
we can go on to this later as a major issue, because
Mm-hmm.
their dynamics are totally different. But
Okay.
Russia is aware of this. There is a lot of dissension there, and Russia is taking steps to control it peacefully, not by force. But they have
Mm-hmm.
deployed a large amount of troops towards this.
या बिल्कुल. एक्चुअली अगर आप जरा डिटेल में जाएं तो आपको पता होगा चेचन फाइटर्स यूक्रेन की तरफ से भी लड़ रहे हैं. तो
हाँ,
चेचन में भी दो ग्रुप्स हैं. एक तो जो प्रो रशिया ग्रुप है जो कि ज्यादा बड़ा ग्रुप है, और छोटे ग्रुप्स में वो यूक्रेन की
as
तरफ से भी
fighters,
उनके फाइटर्स जा रहे हैं.
foreign
और
legion wale.
या आज Hamas are no different from Nazis. Superiority complex, Jew hate, want their ideology, want their to rule world. Putin, who wanted to do Nazify Ukraine, is with them. I know he wants to oppose US, but has lost my respect. I mean, This is
Yes,
something.
Gujarati, what you have just said, Sritik, is quite interesting, because we cannot actually sum up in this way, because Nazis, that ideology of hating Jews is fine, and the Russia wanted to denazify, and he has made a statement. Now, when he is making a statement as denazify, he is looking at an ideology, and when he is looking at that particular ideology, uh, he was not looking at Jews in Ukraine. We're
Okay.
not looking at Jewish population in Ukraine. We're looking at an ideology of the way they were treating the Russians, Christians, if I may
Okay.
just, the Orthodox Christians. So it that is where the difference lies. And as far as in the Middle East is concerned, he's supporting Hamas, and you may say that they're akin to Nazis, but it is just an action that they are taking. They want all Jews out, but there is no, I would say, ideology which is the linkage of the ideology in Ukraine with that of the Hamas. Hamas is a pure terrorist organization,
Okay.
and
There's a question.
it stems from Islam. I mean, it's
Okay.
of radical Islam who only want the Arabs and the Islamists to survive, and there should not be no other religion in the world. So that is what it is.
There's a question from. I'm first asking the questions of everyone, and then I'll go to the repeat questions. I mean, people who are repeating more number of questions. Akash asks, when will Poland invade Ukraine as part of a three-territory solution?
A good one, Akash. I guess you've been listening to my podcast on the other side
Well,
with
and this has
Ati.
been in the, and this has
Yes,
been in the.
yes. Now, this is actually going to happen at a particular stage, if it has to happen. And that stage will be when the Russians decide to go full out and capture maximum territory and are at the capital of Ukraine. When they're knocking at the doors of Kiev, that is the time that the Poles will get worried, and that is why today they have put troops there
Wrong. Correct.
on the borders. Now, what are they going to do in the army? You extend your forward zone. So that is precisely what they are going to do, is from their own borders walk into Ukrainian territory, extend their borders, extend their area, and
Depth.
capture
Strategic depth.
capture Polish territory, which they will claim as traditionally theirs, which
Correct.
was historically perhaps Polish speaking, and a part of their this thing. So there's going to be a trigger to that, and the trigger will be this:
Okay.
when Russia is at Kiev's doors. That is the time Poland will walk in and extend its territory into, and that is where, and once Kiev is captured, supposing,
Hmm.
then you will have three,
Yeah.
parts of Ukraine.
Three parts of Ukraine. Okay. Interesting. That's a very interesting take. Rusty Punch asked General Sir, have you seen the Western anchor like Tucker and all? How they are getting frustrated with electoral fraud going in the US? They are feeling the pinch of same thing that used to go in India.
I guess what you just said is very, very true, because the very frustrations we feel are existing in India many a times. The same frustrations today are being witnessed in the United States.
Absolutely.
And today, we can all be very proud Indians and say that we have matured
Mhm.
and stabilized, whereas the Americans today, who thought they were stable, they are not so stable, and everything is coming to the fore. I mean, we're looking at migration issues, we're looking at
Yeah.
unemployment, we're looking at the drug problem, we're looking at uh, these wars, we're looking at
Uh,
inflation. All that is taking place.
Random killings, straight. I
Random
mean,
killings, arms, availability of arms.
correct.
So all
But
these problems have come to fore in the United States, and Tucker is rightly taking up all these cases, and his frustration is showing. Yes, definitely. What you said,
yeah,
very, very.
my own experience, I was for 1.5 years in the US, and I realized this thing that, out there, the media especially is like they are also divided so deeply. Fox News on a different trip, CNN on a different trip, Sky News on a different trip. I mean, I didn't feel that absence of my Indian media there. And when I was staying for 1.5 years, I thought probably they've just shifted base from India to America. So ये हर elections में होता है, and I think we should accept it as the new trend of the new generation, I suppose. Next question is from good. Next question is from uh, Partha P. Asks, can IMEC be extended into African Union for real instead of promised but failed growth and prosperity?
No, this is something at the moment it stays in the planning and the dream domain,
Hmm,
if I may just say so. How will it manifest, and how will it really become real, as you said? Let us see. I mean, we need to wait and watch for this particular project to come about. And
correct,
this has implications because Israel is now embroiled and Middle East
correct.
is embroiled. So we'll have to wait and watch.
Okay, okay. Next question is from Colonel R.P. Singh. He says, after World War II, wars have been seen progress into stalemate, stalemate, not decisive, and countries goes into economic crisis. Is it war to control the opponent or to promote build arms industry? I think self-explanatory question. Right?
Actually, sir, today, it's all about economics. It's all about
Oh,
paisa. And
correct,
traditionally, also, if wars took place, if you wanted to capture territory, you were wanting to capture more territory because, I mean, राजा महाराजा भी जब वो invasion करते थे एक एक
correct,
kingdom से दूसरे kingdom, so they were looking at exploiting the economic prowess. So
correct.
similarly, today also, it is land or the wars are there. You can, after the, what do you call, state boundaries cannot be, you cannot capture territory and incorporate them, but definitely arms industries can be given a boost by all this.
Last two questions quickly because we are now reaching our 1 hour limit because we try to keep things under 1 hour. This is looks to me a very interesting question. Uh, This is about Ask General Pradeep sir. How do you see demographic future of Israel? It has
Yeah.
7.5 million Jews and Arabs, 2.3 million uh, Gaza, 3.2 million West Bank, 2 million Israel Arabs, 7.5 million. What will be the demographic threat to Israel? Demographic
So,
threat to Israel.
so this is a very interesting one. Now, no, I know where this question comes from. Now,
Mhm.
I'll just make a statement. Uh, this is a very valid question, sir. Now, the growth rate of Israel, I mean, when it comes to population multiplication, it is at 1.67, if I get the
Mm.
figure right offhand. And that of the Arabs living within Israel and in the Palestinian area is about 4.6 something, 4 point some
Yes,
numbers, 4.3, 4 point something. So if you see the future of Israel, the number of Jews are going to dwindle and the more of, the Arabs are going to grow. Now, if that happens, obviously there's going to be a shift. But do also remember that in the current framework also, if 80% are Jews who were living in Israel, 20% were Arabs, and they were living in harmony. So
correct.
Israel as a state may survive on a long term, even despite the dynamics, the demographic dynamics changing. But when you look at Jews versus Arabs, yes, Jews are, growing at a much slower pace.
Yeah. Two last quick questions together because they are linked. Hai. Move has asked Jang sir what will happen to Russia-Ukraine conflict if Trump gets elected, and in the same breath he says, Jang sir, will USA be able to plant a Mikhail Gorbachev after Putin is gone. I had referred to this during our discourse today in the passing. So I
So
think the questions can be answered together, and that then will call off the discussion today.
yes, if you listen to Donald Trump, he says, if I get elected, I will put an end to this war within 1 hour.
Correct.
So that is one answer to the first question. And second is, once Putin goes, obviously they will want a person who is favorable towards, who is aligned towards their thought process. But
Yeah.
then, my opinion, Russia has become a little more confident as of today.
Yeah.
It is not the old Russia. You know, after the breakdown, split of USSR, Russia went down, but today the graph has climbed up, and the
Yeah.
confidence levels have increased further. And
Correct.
thanks to Ukraine war, they are even better, and they are more resilient.
Correct.
So this particular aspect is kind of doubtful. Whatever the United States may try, it if it has to come, it has to come from within Russia, who will want to have favorable policies towards the United States. But having planting and a Mikhail Gorbachev may not happen. That's my take.
Thank you, Prabdeep. I think that was a wonderful discussion we had on covering both the wars. Some kind of a contrast was made, some kind of a comparison of similarity as well as differences were evolved at. And I think we also looked a little bit into the future. Uh, uh, I would request the audience to please like and subscribe, watch and share as far as possible. Press the bell icon of this channel. There is a QR code also there if you want to donate to us so that we become a little more technologically better. Like some comments I've got that my voice is getting echoed. I don't know. I will check out whether it is due to the internet problem or something else. Thank you to each one of you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. आज इलेक्शन हुआ है भारत में, मेजर मिनी इलेक्शन कह सकते हैं इसको, और उसके रिजल्ट्स भी काफी हद तक एज प्रिडिक्टेड हैं. एक आध सरप्राइजेज हुई हैं, बट बाय एंड लार्ज इट एज प्रिडिक्टेड बाय द एग्जिट पोल्स. आप सभी को बधाई, वोटर्स को बधाई, बिकॉज आपकी वजह से डेमोक्रेसी हमारे देश की मेच्योर हो रही है. एंड थैंक यू प्रदीप, आई थिंक दैट वाज वंडरफुल. जय हिंद, जय भारत.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me on the show, sir. Regards.
Regards.